Snow pressed itself against the empty streets like a heavy secret, and the red and blue lights of a patrol car bled softly into the falling white as a female cop sat alone inside it, fingers stiff on the steering wheel, breath fogging the windshield on Christmas night when the world felt warmer everywhere else. Her radio crackled with distant voices that did not include her name, and the ache in her chest was sharper than the cold because this was the first Christmas she had nowhere to go, no family table, no ringing phone, only duty and the quiet fear that she had somehow been forgotten by life itself. Before this story pulls you deeper into that night, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel name if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the coldest nights can still hold light. She had chosen the extra shift because it was easier than sitting in an empty apartment, easier than facing memories wrapped in tinsel and old photographs. The uniform fit her like armor, but armor could not keep loneliness out, and as she drove the far edges of the district, the streets grew darker, the houses fewer, and the silence louder. A wrong turn led her away from the main roads, and soon the GPS signal flickered and died, leaving her in a maze of unplowed side streets where the snow had erased familiar signs. The patrol car struggled, tires spinning, and when the engine finally stalled, the quiet that followed felt final. She tried the radio again, but static answered, and for the first time in years, fear crept into her chest, not the sharp fear of danger she knew how to control, but the slow fear of being alone and unseen. She stepped out into the snow, boots sinking, breath coming fast, the cold biting through her gloves as she assessed her options with training that felt distant tonight. The sky was low and gray, and Christmas lights glimmered far away like a promise meant for someone else. She began walking, hoping to find a house, a light, anything, but each step felt heavier as the cold worked its way into her bones and exhaustion tugged at her resolve. She thought about how she had once loved Christmas, how she had believed in the simple goodness of people before loss and long shifts and nights like this had worn those beliefs thin. She wondered, briefly and dangerously, if anyone would notice if she did not make it back before morning. Miles away, though it felt like another world, a single dad finished clearing snow from the steps of his small house, pausing to catch his breath as the porch light cast a soft circle on the ground. Christmas had been quieter than he wanted it to be, just him and his young daughter, doing their best to make traditions out of what little they had. He had learned how to stretch joy the way he stretched groceries, careful and hopeful, and as he turned to go inside, he noticed something strange beyond the fence line, a dark shape moving unsteadily through the snow. Years of responsibility had sharpened his instincts, and something about that movement told him this was not a drifter or a threat, but someone in trouble. He pulled on his coat again and walked toward the road, heart beating faster as he recognized the outline of a uniform against the white ground. The sight of a police officer struggling alone struck him with a mix of concern and respect, because he knew what it meant to show up for others even when your own life felt like it was falling apart. He waved his arms to catch her attention, careful not to startle her, and as she looked up, relief washed over her face so suddenly it almost brought her to her knees. She followed him back toward the house, each step closer to warmth feeling like a small miracle. Inside, the house was modest but alive with quiet signs of Christmas, handmade decorations, a small tree with mismatched ornaments, the smell of soup lingering in the air. The heat wrapped around her like a blanket, and for the first time that night, her shoulders relaxed. The single dad moved with the easy competence of someone used to caring for others, offering dry towels, a chair near the heater, and a calm presence that did not ask questions or demand explanations. His daughter peeked from the hallway, eyes wide with curiosity, and the simple innocence of her gaze reminded the cop of why she had chosen this job in the first place. Time slowed as she thawed, the sting returning to her fingers, the weight in her chest easing as her phone finally found a signal and messages began to come through. Help was on the way, the car would be found, everything would be handled, but in that small living room, something else was happening that could not be logged or reported. The single dad listened as she spoke about the night, about getting lost, about choosing the shift because it was easier than feeling alone, and he understood more than she expected. He shared, in his own way, the quiet struggles of raising a child alone, of holidays that magnified absence, of learning to keep going because someone depended on him. Christmas music played softly from an old radio, and the daughter, braver now, offered the cop a drawing she had made earlier that day, a crayon scene of a house, snow, and people holding hands under a bright star. The cop felt her throat tighten as she accepted it, realizing that in all her years of service, no medal or commendation had ever made her feel this scene. She had been trained to be strong, to protect, to endure, but tonight she was being protected in a way she did not know she needed. When the sound of approaching engines finally reached the house, a mix of relief and reluctance filled the room. The moment was ending, the bubble of warmth about to pop, but its impact would linger. She stepped back out into the cold with renewed strength, knowing she was not as alone as she had believed. Before she left, she looked back at the single dad and his daughter standing in the doorway, framed by light, and something settled quietly inside her, a reminder that goodness did not announce itself with sirens, it lived in small choices made by ordinary people. The rest of the night unfolded as it should, reports filed, the patrol car recovered, the shift completed, but the cop carried that Christmas with her long after the snow melted. She returned to that street weeks later, not in uniform, bringing a small gift and a thank you that felt inadequate compared to what she had received. The single dad had not thought twice about helping, had not expected recognition or reward, because kindness, to him, was simply part of surviving with your heart intact. Years passed, and the memory of that night became a quiet touchstone for both of them. For her, it softened the hard edges that the job had carved, reminding her to look for the human stories behind every call. For him, it reinforced the lesson he was teaching his daughter, that even when you have little, you can still give something that changes a life. Christmas came and went, sometimes joyful, sometimes heavy, but always carrying the possibility of unexpected connection. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even in moments of fear and isolation there can be warmth and hope, please take a moment to like, share, and engage with this video so more people can feel that reminder. And before the ending, we have a special request for you. Comment below and tell us about a time when a small act of kindness changed your life, or when you were the one who chose to help. On a night when a female cop felt lost and alone, a single dad did not just offer shelter, he offered proof that humanity still shows up, even when the roads disappear under snow, and that proof became a light both of them would carry forward, quietly, faithfully, into every Christmas that followed.